Hello, it's me again. Okay, so the video that I wanted to do today, I cannot do it because I couldn't find what I wanted to paint at the store where the paint stuff is.
You mean an art store?
And I was sad because I wanted to do that. But then I was like, you know what, you've got so many other things that you could paint. Go away. Come back later. I thought, why not just paint some of those? So I'm just going to show you some of the stuff that I've got today. This is a picture frame. It's just a normal picture frame. It's a square. It's made of wood. And that's one of the options for today. You can come back now. Yes. This is just a shelf. It's a black shelf that I took out of my desk shelf thing. And yeah, that's a bit boring looking, but you know, I thought I could paint that. This is the exciting stuff. Right, so I've got this teeny tiny canvas and easel. I've also got this very scary mask. Yeah. And of course this box. If you see any of these that you really like, that you think I should do but I didn't, leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to do it in a different video.
So I'm going to start with the mask. It's a little bit creepy, but I think we can cope with that. There's a lot of room for creativity, and oh, there's a little tag there. Let's just chop that off. I wasn't sure if I wanted to lean into its creepy factor or away from it. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to use on it at first. I could use markers or I could use paint. I didn't really know, to be honest. I decided to use my alcohol markers because I never use them for anything else because they bleed everywhere. So I thought, you know what, get some use out of them. I found a mask I made a couple years ago and I thought it looked quite cool. I wanted to take some ideas from it and put it on the other one. I really liked the drippy eye thing and I liked the sort of split on the face, and I definitely wanted to use some of that in my new one. To start with, I was just sketching a design on it. Very faintly, I was just putting in the drips and then I drew this sort of crack thing all over it, and I thought instead of doing half and half like I did with the other one, I'd do a sort of smashed glass sort of look with lots of different sections on it, all differently designed. Then I went over the crack lines with a black alcohol marker, and it was only then that I realised how much these were bleeding on this sort of card material. And after that I made a start on the first section, painting some sort of rainbow drip things coming off of the eye. I ended up theming the whole mask rainbow, because I just like the look of lots of colours with a thick black outline. I also put in some horizontal stripes across the face and the nose part, and then I drew some black drips over the top of that. For the lip section, I just went around the edge in black and then I started drawing each drip a different colour of the rainbow. And then I just drew a horizontal rainbow for the bottom lip, and that was that. Then I finished off a little corner bit that I missed earlier. Then after that I put this weird little dot pattern thing along the edge. I'm not really sure how this was relevant to the rest of that part, but to be honest, this entire section of the face was just a little bit whack, to be honest. Didn't really make a lot of sense. For the next section, I moved to the side of the face and sketched out a little tree pattern. It was meant to look like a sort of rainbow background with white trees on the top, and it didn't really look like that. It looked more like sort of triangle shapes that were just fitted together, but it was alright, it still looked quite cool. On the next section, I put in a sort of giraffe pattern design. I really like the shapes on giraffes. I've used this pattern loads of times before in my art, so I put it on this as well. And under that, I just drew a basic rainbow design and outlined each colour with black. The next section was just dots. They looked a bit like chickenpox at first, but then I went around them in black and they looked a bit better. The next one was just a checkerboard thing, but with all the different colours. I actually messed up with the counting and the spacing of all the checks, so I did make a couple mistakes there. Once I'd drawn all the squares, I went around each one in black. And then, using a sketch to guide me, I did a rainbow design over the back of a zebra stripe pattern. This was quite complicated to do, but it looked really cool in the end, and it was definitely worth it. Like I did on the other sections, I went over the stripes in black to define them a bit more. Then I drew a sort of spiral pattern that actually reminded me a bit of rock candy. I missed out every other colour, so it was like white and then colour and then white again, and I went through every colour and then went around it in black, and it looked really cool. The next one was very simple. I just drew a few stars in all the different colours and then went around them in black, and the spacing out was quite difficult for this, but it was alright. I'm not quite sure what this pattern's called, but you see it on shirts a lot, and it's basically the one where it makes lots of little squares with the different colours, and I went over that in black as well. For this one, I did a white spiderweb over a rainbow background. And then I drew some rainbow fairy lights. And finally, I drew a sort of wavy rainbow thing that went and filled up the whole space. Here's the before and after. I added a coat of PVA over the top so that it's a bit shiny. The next thing I wanted to decorate in this video was the frame. It's a little dusty, but the wood's pretty good quality, and it's quite thick as well. The first thing I had to do was deconstruct all the layers, get the cardboard thing out the back and all the glass out and everything. The little peg things I had to peel back were really stiff, and so that took quite a while. When I did this, I discovered like a second layer of wood that I'm gonna have to paint as well. The next thing I had to do was paint the entire frame white, which took quite a long time just because it had to dry between each layer, and I got a lot of paint on my table as well. I also had to paint the smaller bit as well, and that was really fiddly, and I got a lot of paint on my hands. And while I waited for that to dry, I thought I'd make a start on what I'm actually going to be putting in the frame. So I just sketched out a plan first, which was just a couple of circles, and I used a paint tub thing to make those. Next, I mixed up some base colours for the base coat of my circles. I just added a little bit of paint to a lot of white, and I mixed it with the end of a paintbrush so that it didn't get the hairs clogged up. My plan was to turn these circles into oranges, lemons and limes, because they're all citrus fruit and they all look a little bit similar if you cut them in half. I wanted to give it some sort of sunny summer vibes because it's just the end of winter at the moment and it's still a little bit depressing outside, and I just wanted a little bit of sunshine in my room. After that, I went round the edge of each one in a darker colour, and this was the sort of skin rind bit of the fruit. A couple of them were a little bit wonky, they were like an odd shape, or they were a bit too thick or a bit too thin in some areas, but I think I managed to get the colours right. Next, I did the white stringy part of the fruit. It was quite difficult doing this, especially because it was so pale and so was the fruit itself, so I couldn't really see what I was doing, and it ended up a little bit streaky, and anywhere where I got the shape slightly wrong in the previous bit, it was really highlighted with this. To solve that problem, I just went around all the edges with a black biro, which worked but also was a little bit messy and smudged in a few places as well. And finally, I added in a pale blue background and I painted the frame of the inside thing in blue as well. Once the white layer had dried, I took the same paint I used to paint the fruits and I made some stripes around the edge. The edges were a little bit clumpy and in some places they were a bit wonky as well, but I went over them later and fixed them. The frame didn't turn out exactly how I wanted, but I was quite pleased with it overall and I had quite a lot of fun on this project. I hope you enjoyed the video. leave a like and subscribe, and don't forget to tell me what you want to see painted next.